Welcome back, fifth graders, to Professor Pandemic's Attic. Here we're going to talk about multiplying decimals this week. So in our first problem, we have 36 and 25 hundredths times 4. When you multiply by decimals, you're basically doing the exact same thing as multiplying by a whole number, except you have to take out the decimal at the beginning and then put it back at the end. So in this problem, I rewrote the 36 and 25 hundredths. I took out the two decimal places. So I go tenths and hundredths. And if you notice here, the number ends in hundredths. So not only am I taking out the two decimal places, I'm reminding myself that there are two decimal places right here by writing hundredths. And some of you can write a 2 there if that helps you. Now you just multiply like you normally would. So 5 times 4 is 20. 8 plus 2 is 10. 24 plus 1 is 25. And the 2, 12 plus 2 is 14. So you would multiply just like you normally would. Now you have 14,500. But you have to remember to add these hundredths back because you started with two decimal places in your question. So the number of decimal places you start with is the number of decimal places that you add. So you go back here, you always start from the right, you add 1, 2 decimal places, and your answer is actually 145 and 0 hundredths, or 145 if you want. Let's look at a couple more examples today of just doing one-digit multiplication. All right, friends, so in this problem, we have 634 and 2 tenths times 9. So the first step, once again, is to remove the decimal place. So here I only have to move the decimal one spot, which means I have 6,342 tenths. And again, I remember to write the tenths place over here. Again, you only have to move it one spot, so you have that one. And also, easy to remember because it says 634 and 2 tenths, you write that tenths number there. So a couple ways for you to remember it. Once the decimal's out, now you're just multiplying. 9 times 2 is 18. 36 plus 1 is 37. 27 plus 3 is 30. 9 times 6 is 54. Plus 3 is 58. Now, because we had one decimal place in our question, we have to make sure we have one decimal place in our answer, which is why this tenths tells us we have to move the decimal point in one spot. So our answer here would be 5,807 and 8 tenths. So sometimes you might have one decimal place, sometimes you might have 2, sometimes you might have 3, sometimes you could have more. It really depends on the problem. And doing this with one digit will really help you when you get to double digit, where there are multiple decimals in your question. And that kind of makes your products just a little more tricky when you have to figure out where your decimal place is. So let's do a couple examples on your own, so that way we can feel pretty good about doing one digit before we move on to two digit. All right, fifth graders, in this problem, we have 34 and 68 hundredths times 7. Use your mathematical knowledge and solve this problem to see if you can put the decimal in the right spot and find the correct product. Hopefully by now, friends, you have an answer of 242 and 76 hundredths. Remember, we had to take the two decimal places out of our answer here, which is why we ended up with the hundredths place next word there, and again with a little 2 there. And then when we go and multiply everything out, we would have had 24,276. But to remember to put the two decimal points back into the problem, we get an answer of 242 and 76 hundredths. Let's do another example together. All right, friends, our next problem is 9 and 376,000 times 8. Take a couple seconds in your groups or in your class and see if you can correctly multiply by this decimal. All right, fifth graders, hopefully you came up with an answer of 75 and 8 thousandths. Again, this problem has 3 decimal places out, so we have to move the decimal 1, 2, 3 places to the end, which gets us 9,376 thousandths. And we have our little 3 in our thousandths there. When you multiply it through, it would give us 75,008. Again, we have to remember we have 3 decimal places in our question, which means we have to have 3 decimal places in our answer. We always start from the right and work our way to the left. which gives us an answer of 75 and 8 thousandths for our answer. We'll do one more together, and then you may do some more practice, or you might begin your classwork for today. Our last problem from the attic today is $67.89 multiplied by 3. So put those mathematician hats on and see if you can solve this answer. How many of you were able to get our last problem correct? Our answer should have been $203.67. And you noticed right here at the end, I put my dollar sign in this because especially when you're dealing with decimals, you may get some money questions. So don't forget your dollar sign at the end of your question if you have a dollar sign at the beginning of your question. We also had 2 decimal places that we had to move out, which is why I have my hundredths there. And again, just to make sure I put 2 back in there, I wrote my 2 there. We multiply 6,789 hundredths by 3. It would have gotten us 20,367. And then you add those 2 decimal points back in for an answer of $203.67. So, hopefully you are feeling pretty good about multiplying decimals by 1 digit. Your teacher might do some more problems with you, or they might let you go on to today's classwork. As for me, I'm Professor Pandemic. The next time you see me, we'll be doing double-digit multiplication with decimals, where it's pretty much the exact same thing, only there's one extra step that comes with the decimals. Until then, we'll see you at the next math lesson, friends. Enjoy multiplying.